Hey, everybody out there. I hope y'all are doing swell. I know I am. And I thought I'd take a little bit of time and share with you the baits I used to catch the 51 pounds of bass on the Arkansas River to win the Bass Nation qualifier this last week. I had a great event over there this last week, and my biggest dream came true to get to stand on that stage and win a Bassmaster event. And it's been a lot of years working towards that, but here we go. So on the first day, I went out and began to alternate between a jig and a spinnerbait, and the river was really low at the time, and ended up the jig was the best bait on the first day when the water was low. And I caught all my fish on a 1/2 ounce Arkansas custom tackle black and blue jig. Now this is kind of a special jig. It's a 1/2 ounce jig, but it doesn't have a big giant hook in it. It's just it's got a standard old bronze hook in it. Not too big, not too small. Hope you can see it well. It's got kind of it's a really weedless head. You can see it there. This is my favorite jig to pitch with right here. It just really performs well. I use a skirt color I make myself. It's kind of what I call a Carolina blue and a dark blue mix with a solid black skirt. And then I pair it with a sapphire blue rage crawl. This is what the 19 pounds came on. Four of the fish I caught in the 19 pounds came on this bait right here the first day. I was just going along, pitching that thing up to the rocks and then fishing it out to 3 or 4 feet, going really slow, making lots of nice, precise pitches to the cracks in the rocks and just hopping it really slow out to the boat. I use that on a G Loomis Mossback 7.3 medium heavy rod. I use a Shimano MGL reel, SLX. These are really good reels for the money. And I was using that on 20-pound fluorocarbon line. And the majority of the fish that first day came on that very jig, actually. Now on the second day, the water began to rise in those pockets I was fishing, and they just didn't want anything to do with that jig. And that's when really my main key bait to this tournament came into play. And that was a 3/8 ounce tandem willow leaf Arkansas custom tackle white and chartreuse spinnerbait. I was pairing it with a pearl white zoom split tail. It had a nickel Colorado in the front and a gold willow leaf in the back, 4.5. This is one of my favorite baits in the spring because it's a really good bait to slow roll with. The Colorado blade won't allow the bait to rise too much, but you can just cast this bait to the shore and slow roll it really slow. And that's how the second day began to play out with this bait. And I would cast it up to those same rocks I was flipping that jig on. I was setting it about a 45-degree angle, making a relatively medium cast, not too far, and then slow rolling it back, like very slow. And the key was to put it right on the bank and then just ease it along and let it just slow roll, right? Following those rocks out. The water I was fishing, where the majority of my fish came from, was a little deeper in those holes. And I would just slow roll that bait and kind of follow those rocks on out to the boat. A lot of those bites would come just a little bit out off the bank. And this was the bait. They really loved that slow retrieve. There was a lot of guys catching a lot of fish in there throwing crankbaits, but they were staying really close to the bank and really moving quite fast. This was the key to catching those bigger fish. I wasn't getting nearly the bites that everybody else was, but when I got a bite on this spinnerbait, it was the ones I needed. It was generating a bigger bite and those quality fish, and I know that was a key factor for being able to win the tournament, was catching better fish than everybody else was in that area. And this was the bait. I have a 6.5 foot Shimano Compre rod, and I've modified it a little bit. It's got a short handle on it so I can roll cast with it. And I'm using one of these old school green Corrados in a 6:4 to 1 gear ratio. I really enjoy these old reels, and I've got a lot of them, and I still use them every day, and I still buy them up when I can. Shimano, the quality is unparalleled. These reels are old. They still work just like they were brand new. So that's what I was using. I was using 17-pound Bass Pro XL line. You know, you can buy you a big giant spool of it for $9. Good line, clear colored. That's what I was using on that. And the other key bait for me, and in the afternoons, it seemed as though they would kind of get away from the white and chartreuse, or the brighter color, as the sun got really high and bright. And that's when I would go to this mouse colored Arkansas Custom Tackle tandem willow leaf. So it's a more translucent skirt, just a gray head. It had a gold and nickel willow leaf, and this is the bait I would use in the afternoon. And I caught a key bass on this tournament each day, late in the day when the sun was high, on this particular bait. It seemed like they kind of quit the other one. I was fishing it the same way, throwing it right up on the bank, retrieving it really slow back to the boat, and it would trigger a key bite every afternoon, and it made a difference. In my opinion, this bait won me the tournament on that last hour or two throwing this bait. Using it on a 7.2 Shimano SLX rod with a Shimano XT reel and a 7.2 gear ratio with the same clear Bass Pro Shops XL monofilament line. Simple stuff, fishing it a little different than everybody else was in the tournament. The water was 60 degrees. It was easy to want to speed up and try to fish too fast. But those cold mornings, I really believe these were all pre-spawn fish that just weren't quite ready to move up and spawn yet. And they were just hanging out off of them deeper rocks, waiting. And they were just waiting for a shad or something to come by, and they were feeding on it. So the key to me was being ultra patient, making lots of casts, going over the same water multiple times with a really slow, precise retrieve. Even with that jig, just picking apart the bank, going so slow, and picking off those bass that were sitting a little deeper that I think a lot of the other anglers were fishing right over. So as we go into spring, remember that. Sometimes we want the fish to be biting a little better than they are, and you can always never go wrong by slowing down a little bit, being a little more precise, slowing down to retrieve, really thinking about everything about that cast, and it will put some bigger fish in the boat for you. And it just might win you the tournament of your dreams. I hope y'all have a good evening out there. I can't thank all of you enough for all your support, all your texts, calls. I am humbled by everyone out there. And y'all have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.